Hello, guys, and Bitcoin is dumped about 20%. Altcoins, of course, have gotten slaughtered even more, going down 30-40% or even more. Meme coins have actually fared the worst, because they're meme coins. How low will Bitcoin and altcoins go, and what does the past tell us about this? Well, we're going to look at both 2017 and 2020-2021 bull runs. Now, there is a cycle before that in 2013, but you can't really compare it to 2013 because Mt. Gox literally controlled 90% of all exchange activity then. DEXs really weren't a thing. And the collapse of Mt. Gox is not something that anything can really compare to, even something like FTX. And there weren't that many coins in 2013, so that cycle is more or less irrelevant. Let's take a look at the charts from 2017 and 2021. Let's actually first look at the charts from 2017. If you look at the 2017 chart, 2017 starts about here, and the biggest dip I can really find is here, from September 3rd to about September 26th. And that is roughly from $4,591 to about $3,892, or dip of $700. But remember, Bitcoin is only $4,000 at this point. So that dip essentially amounts to about 17%, which is fairly comparable to the 20% dip we've had so far. So there is a precedent for that. But you might be saying, what about this December 19th to February 11th dip from roughly $17,000 to $8,000, or more than a 50% dip? Well, that's not an in bull run dip. That is like when we entered the bear market, because as you can see, we only went back up to about $10,000, and then we went down straight after that. So if you're looking for an in bull run dip that we haven't entered the bear market, and we could go back even further, the corollary to that is September 3rd, 2017 to about September 26th, 2017. Now, how much did altcoins dip in that period? Now, a lot of the altcoins didn't really start until later in that year. So we're going to look at some of the older altcoins like XRP. XRP didn't quite dip in September. I mean, it did have this little dip from like 22 cents to about 16 cents. But the bigger overall dip during that summer, or during that in between that year, was basically after it spiked up, just like after it spiked up this time to about $3. And basically from the top, we've had about 39 cents all the way down to about 15 cents at that point. And that is roughly like a 60% dip for XRP during the summer. And that was basically from May to July, and it really didn't get any better until September, and we started going up again. So for altcoins, that 20% Bitcoin dip resulted in a 60% altcoin dip. So if you actually extrapolate that into prices today, no, we still haven't hit the bottom. XRP topped out at about, I think, $3.40. So a 60% dip would get you to about $1.50. Cardano topped out at $1.30. So a 60% dip would actually get you to about 50 cents. So you can kind of extrapolate on that. The next bull run that we need to look at, obviously, is 2021. And this is obviously more near and dear to many people's hearts, because I don't think a lot of you were here, 2017. And the biggest in bull run dip was obviously from April until about July. And Bitcoin did dip about 50%, from $63,000 to about $31,000. Of course, it came back up to $69,000 and dumped afterwards, but this is a huge in bull run dip, and it is much bigger than the one that we are experiencing right now. How did altcoins fare? Well, let's actually look at VET. We have obviously more coins to actually look at now, because 2021, many of the coins that we talk about already existed for quite some time, and there is data that we can actually look at. So for VET, for instance, in that same stretch in 2021, you can see we actually went from a big price of about 23 cents, 26 cents, to about 6 cents before going up to 17 cents. So that is roughly a 75% dip, the in between bull run dip. And obviously, in November, even though Bitcoin reached a max, VeChain didn't actually reach a max. And you will actually see kind of like the same thing for a lot of the coins in that period, in that a lot of the coins after the in bull run dip didn't go back up to as high as they were. Of course, some of them did, depending on the news. But I mean, if we take a look at XRP at that point, the 2021 in between bull run dip, you'll see kind of the same thing. Between April and July, it dipped from roughly 175 to roughly 50 cents or 57 cents. And that's a roughly a loss of 70% or more. Like the next high, it went back up. It went up to like 128, but it never achieved the same high. And this particular pump in March looks a lot like this bigger pump this time in November. So if it follows that 2021 cycle of that big in-between bull run dip, we'll go down to about 150 and then we'll go back up to perhaps roughly like 260, 270, but it won't achieve the all-time high, even if Bitcoin goes higher. Hopefully that doesn't happen with a lot of the regulations getting better and better for crypto. But if you look at the big in bull run dip in 2021, what that signals for Bitcoin is, yes, it will go higher to maybe about 120, but altcoins might dip down roughly 20, 30% more at least, and then go back up to maybe where they are now, maybe slightly above where they are now. So the prospects do not look so great. So we do not want to follow the 2020, 2021 bull run, especially for alts. For Bitcoin, it would be okay if it reached 120. Still a bit of a disappointment, but it would be another all-time high. But for a lot of the altcoins, it would not be acceptable to many of you. If we follow 2017, that's different. For altcoins, they did go down like 50% or more, much like many of the altcoins have done so right now. I still think altcoins have 10 to 15% more to fall, and then they went basically Super Saiyan and went way up 10 to 20x. So hopefully, we better hope we get 2017 and not 2021, because 2021 would be very disappointing. And I think it really depends on whether Bitcoin goes negative 50% or just bottoms out at negative 20 to 25%. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe, hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.